Welcome back to The Lead. Now it's time for the politics lead. It's a state that has witnessed two of the worst gun violence tragedies in U.S. history, the Columbine high school shooting and last year's Aurora theater massacre. But after passing stricter gun control laws earlier this year, gun rights activists vowed to make some Colorado lawmakers pay the price at the polls. And it didn't take long for them to make good on those threats. An historic and first ever recall vote in Colorado pitted citizen against citizen, as well as two of the nation's most powerful gun lobby groups against each other. Mayor Michael Bloomberg's Mayors Against Illegal Guns versus the National Rifle Association. Both groups spending millions to sway voters. Ultimately, Colorado voters sent a stern message to two state senators, both Democrats, who supported the new gun laws. You're fired.
I love you.
State Senator Angela Giron, who represented a mainly Democratic district, and Colorado State Senate President John Morse were both booted.
If passing gun safety legislation in Colorado cost me my political career, that is such a small price to pay, because the families of gun violence victims pay a huge price every single day.
Among the laws that caused such a backlash, one limiting ammunition magazines to 15 rounds, another requiring universal background checks, and a third which required gun purchasers to cover the costs of the background checks. The NRA, which helped local groups in Colorado mount the recall effort, celebrated the results as a major milestone. NRA PVF is proud to have stood with the men and women in Colorado who sent a clear message that their Second Amendment rights are not for sale. Supporters of the Colorado laws argue that following tragedies in Aurora and Newtown, stricter gun laws make Coloradans safer. Opponents fought the laws fiercely and viewed them as an infringement on their constitutional rights. They also see the victory in Colorado as a pivotal moment in the nation's gun policy debate. Let's now hash this all out with Larry Pratt, Executive Director of Gun Owners of America, and Jim Kessler, co-founder of Third Way, a group that wants to see tighter gun control laws. Jim, I'll start with you. In the latest polling, 51% of Americans still think gun laws should be tighter, but gun laws, politicians supporting of them, keep getting voted down. Why?
Gun laws are notoriously hard to pass. After
Why?
the Hinckley assassination, it took 12 years. Look, we have a constitutional amendment on guns. We're a freedom-loving country, and I also think that when we try and pass gun laws, a lot of times gun control activists, they go too far. That's what happened in Colorado.
That's what happened in Colorado.
We found out in Colorado, the only poll that counts was the one that was held on Election Day.
Sure.
The polls were all over the place, as is frequently what goes on, and the intensity of people whose freedom is being threatened was manifest during that election.
Well, I don't know. We talk about freedom, the freedom being threatened. Look, that's something that the gun rights groups bring up all the time. The truth of the matter is, when you're talking about background checks, it's popular 90% to 10%. If you look at Colorado,
so
in 2000, it passed by 700,000 votes in that state.
It's such
but
a
when you get to the
idea,
bans on things like clip bans, that's when it goes too far. And the
following the NSA scandal, I don't think it's as hard a sell as it was before that happened. Now we know the government cannot be trusted. It's not paranoia. It's to point to what the government does.
So you're saying there should be no background checks buying a firearm anywhere, even at a gun store?
Because
we shouldn't do that anymore. We should roll that back.
And they're going to abuse it like they did with the IRS, like they did with the NSA. We don't trust them, and we have very solid, tangible...
So, Larry, let me ask you a question. How do we keep guns out of the hands of people like the Aurora shooter?
You don't. The question ought to be, how do you get guns into the hands of people who need to be able to defend themselves? Aurora was a gun-free zone by law. Columbine was a gun-free zone by law.
But I'm talking about mentally unstable people that should...
If they're criminally inclined, they're going to get a gun anyway. But if I'm in a place where I can't legally have a gun, then I can't protect myself because guys like you won't let me have a gun there.
No, here's the truth, Larry. Guys like me are fine with you having a gun if you go through a background check and pass it. When you're selling your gun...
Don't trust what your government is going to do to those lists of names, NSA, IRS. We now have the smoking gun, if you will.
We can take that to the absurd conclusion, and we should do absolutely nothing about absolutely anything.
To think that
we shouldn't walk through a security check zone at an airport.
Let me ask you one question specifically about Colorado. Mayor Michael Bloomberg was very active in trying to help those.
Glad he was.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about. Did his involvement backfire? Did it hurt his cause?
I would like him to get involved in any campaign we're interested in the future.
Why?
because, first of all, he's kind of an arrogant twit who has a nanny state mentality. And I think one headline I saw was, take that big gulp. The guy is sticking his nose into things where government has no business being, and he got his comeuppance yesterday.
Jim, does the involvement of somebody like Mayor Bloomberg, who does have a reputation for government overreach, for nanny state, banning big gulps, or that's a simplification, but you know what I'm saying. Sure. Does his involvement hurt the cause?
Look, I think the gun rights side has come up with a good talking point against Mayor Bloomberg, and I think that's been effective. But I would say this: the gun safety side does not do a good job politically as the gun rights side, and it's happened for decades. And unless we learn these lessons, we're going to have more defeats than victories, and we need those victories.
But why doesn't the gun rights side do as well? Why does the gun rights side, why are they so much stronger than the gun control side, or the gun safety, whatever you want to call it?
Because if you look at the NRA, which is by far the largest gun rights group out there, they're an organization that's been out there for 100 years or more. And then you look at the major gun groups today, the gun safety groups, Bloomberg, Gabby Gifford's groups, the Sandy Hook group. Combined, they've been around for about 10 years.
Larry, I want to give you the last.
The gun rights people have a grassroots, and you guys, frankly, don't. We are a right-of-center country, and a right-of-center country does not like nanny-staters like Mr. Bloomberg coming in to tell us what's good for us. We can figure those things out ourselves.
I just want to give, we only have 30 seconds left. Larry, you guys have the momentum, your side in this, the groups and the activists and the grassroots. What's next? Where are you turning your attention?
Well, we've got to get rid of the gun-free school zone. That just is a magnet for murder. If you have in your evil heart to kill a lot of people, that's a great place to go. It's just disgusting that we continue to disarm people who would otherwise be able to protect themselves and stop these dirtbags from doing these kinds of terrible things.
Jim, very quickly.
I think that is insanity. My child is in 3rd grade, and having guns in her school will not make the place any safer.
All right.
Her school is safe.
You like bodies piling up, I see.
No.
Good
that's ridiculous.
Good move. Because that's what happens. All the mass murders occur in gun-free zones.
Oh, really?
Pure gun-free zones. The last 20 years. All of them.
Right.
All of them.
We're not going to resolve this issue right now, but Larry Pratt and Jim Kessler, thank you so much for coming, and we appreciate it.